All right, welcome to this week's episode of Adventures of Alcaraz. My name is Julian Alcaraz.
And I'm Miranda Alcaraz. And tomorrow, at least as of when we're filming this, I will be 35 weeks pregnant. Is my chair lower than yours right now?
I'm not sure. You're looking I can lower it down. Yeah, that's fine. No problem. There we go.
Don't go that far. You're like a low rider now.
It's
Jeez.
Okay.
It's going to look all weird.
It's good. It's good.
Does it look weird, Salvi?
Yeah. All right, I'll go up a little bit. Is that better?
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Wow, so much has been happening. Obviously, we'll get into like the most exciting stuff that happened most recently. But, you know, with everything that's going on, you know, everybody understands that things are changing. Even have added some anxiety even around our plan when it comes to delivering baby B, which made us we had to make a lot of adjustments this week. But, you know, earlier this week.
So, yeah, let's go back to Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, because obviously if you've been listening to this podcast or watching the vlog or whatever, you know that the whole topic last week was about how I've been trying to turn baby B's head down because I'm so worried about, and even if there wasn't all this like coronavirus stuff happening, I don't want to deliver him in a hospital. Like I just haven't, I have weird trauma around hospitals in my past. It has nothing to do with anyone that works in a hospital or people that want to deliver there. It's just my personal thing. I'm not a fan of hospitals. And so even before all of that happened, I didn't want to end up in the hospital. And having his head still be up at my 32-week visit was stressing me out. And so all last week we were talking about how all the things I was doing to turn him. And I was doing a lot of random
Oh my
stuff.
goodness. What do they call those sticks?
I did the moxibustion, I did all the spinning baby stuff, I did the like inversions, I did the handstands, I did the even this week I put ice on the top of my belly and he was moving around like crazy and I felt bad. I was like freezing him out. I was putting music down by like the bottom because apparently like they'll move their head down toward the music. I've been going to a Webster chiropractor 3 times a week and she's 30 minutes away. So just all this stuff, and that's what we talked about last week. And it's been stressful because I don't have a lot of free time anyway with our business and everything. So for me to be adding all that stuff in has like caused even more stress. And I'm doing it like late at night and trying to decide, do I need sleep or do I need to do these exercises? Like what's more important?
Yeah.
And it was all building up to this appointment that was scheduled on Tuesday, where I was finally going to get the midwife to feel and tell me if it worked, because I was like, well, there's a lump. I don't know if that's his butt. I don't know if that's his head. He moves so much. Every time I feel him, he's in a different position. Like I was so excited to have them tell me what was going on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was my safe haven too, knowing that Monday you had a really rough day and evening as well, and with all the updates that they kept giving you. And then come Tuesday, I was like, hey, well, our appointment's tomorrow, so, like, look, just let this moment pass. Everything's going to be fine. So I was like, my source of support, that's what I was holding on to. And then next thing you know, Tuesday, they called you 2 hours before the appointment to cancel. And they were like...
Yeah, so Monday night, they sent, like, this message or email that was like... So if you've been involved with a birth center before, usually the reason that you choose something like that is because you do want to be a little more supervised than maybe a home birth. But it feels way more like they know you as a person. You're not just a number. Like it's cozy. It feels way more comforting and way more authentic and way more relaxing. And just everything feels more real and less sterile and less like you're just like a person on like a conveyor belt going through delivering a baby, right? So that's one of the reasons you would pick a birth center. Well, on Monday night, they sent this like message, this email that was shocking to me from a birth center. And I completely understand what position they must be in right now, but it just, maybe their delivery, they could have spent some more time thinking about it, because it was like, no more than 1 person at your visits from now on, no more than 2 people at your birth. No one under the age of 18 is allowed inside our building. If you've had any symptoms of respiratory infection, and they listed the symptoms, it's like, if you have a stuffy nose, if you've been sneezing, if you've been, and I get it, but at the same time, it's like also like allergy season and people sneeze and like, anyways, it was like a long list of like all these stipulations and things. And And I think one of them, I don't know if it was that Monday night one or if it was the one that came the next day, that was even like, we might run out of supplies and have to close our doors and you'll be sent to the hospital. And if for any reason you're transferred to the hospital, none of the midwives will come with you because we don't want them in the hospitals. And it was just, it made me have the same feeling that the hospital gave.
Sure.
And then so on Tuesday, so I was like, geez, well, we'll talk to him about it at the appointment tomorrow, I guess. And then, yeah, on Tuesday morning at like 10 o'clock, or I think our appointment was at like 1, they called me and said, we're not doing your appointment today. And I was like shocked kind of, because I feel like I'm pretty far along in my pregnancy.
Sure.
And they were like, well, hold on, let me see. They're like, how many weeks are you? And I was like, oh, thank goodness. They just didn't realize how far along I am. And I was like, I'm 34 weeks. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, we're not seeing anyone who's under 36 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was like devastation to me. And I told them, actually, I'll get to it. But I said, well, okay. And I told them the situation. I was like, listen, 2 weeks ago at my appointment, my baby's head was still up. It's causing me like a lot of personal issues and anxiety right now. I've been doing so much work to see if I can get him to flip. And today was like the day I was holding on to, sanity-wise, to have the midwife feel to see if he's moved.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, well, yeah, well, I have to cancel it, but we'll have somebody get back to you. And now that we're talking about it, they have not, it's Friday now. I have not heard back from them.
Wow.
No phone call, no. I've gotten like 4 more messages talking about restrictions.
Wow.
One of the restrictions that they added was like, you can have 2 people at the birth, but one of them has to leave pretty much immediately after the baby's out. So it's like, do you tell your doula to leave or your husband? Like, and this is at a birth center. So anyway, yeah, I still haven't heard back from them. That sucked big time. And I like had a really hard day on Tuesday because of it.
Yeah. And on top of that too, the other thing that got canceled was you've been studying to try to take your level 3 CrossFit certification.
Yeah.
And you've been like reading and studying.
Staying up so late at night reading.
And then even that got canceled or you had to reschedule it, but it was just like a chaos thing.
Yeah. So yeah. I had taken that test before, but to renew it and revalidate it, it's funny because the date that I needed to like turn everything in by was the month that Knox was born. And so I was just like, screw it. I'll do it later or whatever. I'll retake the test. I don't care. And then I realized, oh shoot, like that date's coming up again. And it's now, I think it's like May 18th is like the day that I had to take it until, because I like filed like the extension thing or whatever. And so I had the test scheduled for March 31st and they canceled it. And then I was able to reschedule for April 13th, which is 12 days before my due date, to go take this like 4-hour test so that I can maintain all my CrossFit certification stuff. And they canceled that one. So I had to contact CrossFit and be like, listen, like, I'm like super pregnant. I don't know when I'm going to be able to take this test.
Yeah.
Once I have a newborn, and I don't know when they're going to open the testing centers back up. So yeah, just I have been like losing a lot of sleep, just rereading a bunch of like, like anatomy stuff and reminding, of all the nerdy terms.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But obviously the most important thing is we acted quickly on all the updated news that we've been getting from all like the stipulations they've been adding, which took away from the feeling of going to the birthing center in the first place. So you called me and what did you tell me? Yeah,
so, if you guys have been listening to this podcast from the beginning, you know that at the very beginning, I talked about potentially doing a home birth because our home is much more set up for that than our last home was. Yeah. And I've done a natural birth already, so it's it's not as scary after you've had a baby, I think, to do that because you can do it and you know what it's going to be like and stuff like that. We decided on the birth center because it is that happy medium. At least that's what it felt like. But now with like hospitals running out of beds and like people, I'm sure just like running around in hazmat suits at hospitals and the birth center like having all these stipulations. Like I don't want the first thing that baby B sees is some doctor in a hazmat suit. Like that's not how I envision him coming into the world. And that's terrifying to me. And to not have Knox there and to not have our family there and to not even be able to potentially take the doula in because at the hospitals, from what I've heard, it's not two people, it's one person. So no doula at all. Like it's just your husband at that point. And so I brought back up to you the idea of, hey, I don't know if and this was still, obviously, I assumed his head was maybe still up. And so I didn't even know what our options are for home birth, but it was like, hey, what do you think about if we can get him to turn and we can get confirmation that he's turned his head down, revisiting this idea of having him at home. And it's pretty close. I mean, midwives only take so many clients per month because, if someone's in labor and then the next person goes in labor, then that would not be good.
Yeah.
So they have to like space them out, obviously, by their due dates. So yeah, I asked you about it. And I mean, before getting into everything that happened, what were your initial thoughts about it?
I mean, when you brought it up, again, the most important thing for me is always making sure that the environment that you're going to deliver our baby boy in is something that you feel comfortable with, because if you're not comfortable, then I'm not comfortable. So I knew that the minute you brought that up, I was like, are you sure? Like, what makes you feel good about that? Things like that. And so, again, I'm there to support wherever it is we're about to have him, because you're the one delivering him. So you have to feel really safe. You have to feel safe. And then once I know you feel safe, it's my job to then continue to making you feel safe by creating that environment for where we're at, So I was, of course, like, if you feel confident doing so, then that gives me the confidence needed for sure.
Yeah, so I got on my Instagram. I have like 300,000 followers on Instagram, and so it's like, well, somebody on here's got to know someone who's a midwife or has delivered a baby at home, at least in this area where we live. So I got on my Instagram and I just said, if you are a midwife who can do a home birth or know a midwife who can do a home birth near Vancouver, Washington, please send me a message. And I didn't get like a ton of messages, but I did get some. And I got a text message from one of my good friends who lives in Vegas, Abby, who sent one recommendation. And then the other one came from one of our street parking members who is a doula here. And she personally knew a midwife and even called her for us to tell her like, hey, this woman is like a good candidate for home birth. So I got some references and I started calling them and just, I was like selling my situation to them. I was like, listen, I've had an unmedicated water birth before. I've had a completely non-complicated pregnancy. My last pregnancy and delivery had no complications. I was planning on doing this at the birth center with no medication. I'm thinking about moving to home based on everything that's happening. And I was like trying to like tell them like, because I assumed that they were getting like a lot of phone calls from people who were not having it with the hospitals and how they're acting. And I got some responses. I got responses from 3 of them. I think I contacted 3 and got responses from all 3 and was able to get on a FaceTime, like a Zoom type call with one of them like a couple hours later.
Yeah.
And we met with them and told them our story and our history and everything. And I was like nervous to tell them about the breech thing, about the head up thing, because I thought they were going to be like, well, I can't like, and our doula has told me to ask about vaginal breech births, which to be 100% honest, I don't know that I would try. If I knew for sure his head was up, I know that's risky. I know it can be done, but I don't know if I would take it that far to have a breech baby at home.
Right.
So anyway, she told me to at least ask about it because she's like thinks it would be fine, but they were kind of like, I don't know about that, but they could sense how stressed out I was about it, about just not even really knowing if the home birth was an option because I didn't know what position he was in, and they canceled my appointment and I wasn't going to get another appointment for 2 more weeks. So they offered to come over to our house the next day. They're like, even if you don't use us, even if you decide to stay at the birth center, like we can just tell this is like really causing you some stress.
Oh, yeah.
We have an ultrasound machine that we can bring to your home.
Yeah.
And we can tell you what position your baby's in so that at least you know that and you don't have to wait 2 more weeks to find out.
Yeah.
And that I thought was just so cool. And it was so awesome. So they came the next day. They came over to our house and we got to meet them. And they chatted with us for a little bit. We showed them our home. We showed them like the bathtub and everything. And they said like this home would be perfect for a home birth. And then I was really nervous for them to do the ultrasound. Like I almost like didn't want to know type thing.
Yeah.
And then the screen was just on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like this little machine. You've seen it. You said you guys saw an ad for it on Facebook. For a sonogram that you can just buy, which I don't know is a great idea for someone that doesn't know how to use one, but obviously they do. Mm-hmm. And they found his head like down by my left hip bone, like kind of to the side, but down.
Yeah, he's heading down.
Yeah. And I like didn't believe it at first. I was like, oh my God, like I wanted them to like show me a couple times and like show me like his spine and his butt, like, and I was like really like overanalyzing it because I didn't want them to just tell me what I wanted to hear type thing, you know? But yeah, they showed me and they like, so now I know that like this lump that's sometimes on the right side and sometimes on the left side is his butt and his head is down there. And it's very uncommon for a baby once their head is down to flip back up. It does happen, but it's not common. And that was just like, I mean, like I had tears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was emotional for you for sure because it was just like taking a deep breath, weight off your shoulders, just having an idea. Yeah.
Yeah, where now at least I know what my options are.
Sure.
And so we chatted with them a little bit and interviewed one other person to potentially, the third midwife that I talked to, she was full already, so she wasn't available. But she also, you know, said that both of the other 2 that I was interviewing were great. So now, I mean, I'm like 99% sure that that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And Erica, our doula, I've given her the contact info for both that I had interviewed, and she's going to ask them better questions than we can because I don't know what to ask them, to be honest.
Of course. And
just get a feel from both of them. But I think that's what we're going to try to do.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting. Like, honestly, as that was happening and they were doing a little ultrasound on you, I was like looking around and it just felt way more peaceful than what the environment that was being created in the other location did. And I was like, once I got like, you know, clarity that they just bring literally everything that they would have there to you, and it's just, okay, you ask them all the questions, you look them up, you do your research, and obviously we have our doula who's very experienced, you know, asking them questions too. So that's like the last call we're waiting on, and then from there, like I said, we're pretty kind of made up as to what route we're going to take. Now on my end, I know just preparing the things that I can do, but it makes us feel better too that we could have our family there hanging out downstairs, kind of being in the you know, like my dad, my mom, you know, if your mom comes out, or your sister Molly, you know, having our tribe of people who we want present in that experience for sure. So that feels way more natural based off of where things are at right now.
Yeah, and I mean, just like their concerns are, they're getting hit up by like these moms that are doing like 4 weeks and have never even considered a natural birth, let alone a home birth, who are trying to switch like that. That's not a good idea. But it takes preparation. You kind of got to know what you're getting yourself into. And I do feel very lucky that I'm healthy and baby B has been healthy, and I've done this before. You know, we weren't at home, but it was unmedicated and in the water and not at a hospital. So, I mean, I know what that is about. And so, yeah, I think it's not for everyone, and I wouldn't recommend it for everyone, but for us, it feels like the right thing to do.
It does.
So we'll see. We'll see after Erica talks to them who we're going to go with. And, you know, the thing that makes me nervous now is like they need to stay healthy, because if one of them gets sick, or if our midwife that we choose gets sick, then it's like we're back to square one, like trying to figure out who's going to deliver our baby. So
yeah. I think that's it. That we'll kind of close it out there. It's a lot of info already, and we'll have more updates next week, as there's always updates happening and just in general on the day-to-day. So have a great day, guys. We'll check in with you guys soon. Thank you for listening.
Bye.